It's now 6:30 p.m. Wednesday, June 7th, 2023. I'm calling the regular Belle Plaine City Council meeting into session. Should be noted those in attendance are Councilperson Peck, Councilperson Morrow, Councilperson Malcolm, absent is Councilperson Schlusselman, absent is Councilperson Landon. City Administrator Steve Beck's here. Assistant City Attorney Gage Gensler's here, the Mayor's here, and the City Clerk Sandra Walton's here. I'd like to remind all in attendance, including the council and staff, to please shut off your cell phones or put them on the mute mode. That being said, let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, Judy.
Councilman Schlusselman's here at 6:31.
Just ask if you got taller.
Oh, I did, didn't I?
Steve did.
Thanks, Steve. I hadn't noticed that yet.
You're taller than Lyle now.
Better than this.
Let's go to agenda item number 4, approval of the consent agenda, council minutes of May 17th, 2023, receiving and filing of minutes from the May 23rd, 2023 Belle Plaine Community Library Board of Trustees meeting and bills received. Questions or comments on agenda item number 4? Need a motion?
Move to approve the consent agenda, council minutes of May 17th, receiving and filing minutes from the May 23rd Belle Plaine Community Library Board of Trustees meeting and bills received.
Is there a second to that motion? It's been moved and seconded. The last chance for discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same side. Passes 4-0. Go to agenda item number 5, resident comments. Do we have any residents who wish to come forward and make comments tonight on tonight's agenda or possible future agenda items? Okay, hearing and seeing none. Discuss agenda item number 6, discuss request from Valhalla Hatchets at 815 12th Street to bore under the sidewalk for address power concerns. Should be to address power concerns, which is not what they're going to do. Steve had a talk with them, and Steve and I had a discussion on it, and I don't think most people know all the things that are under those concrete sidewalks on Main Street. You can't bore through, and they're not going to be able to bore down deep enough to get around it. So I believe we're not really discussing this. They are going to put a
Alternate plan.
outside on their wall, a plug in, and then put an extension out that'll fit over the sidewalk. It's once a year. You know, the thought of boring under the sidewalk for a once a year event. What if we got 30 other business people that want to try that same thing? If anybody remembers the problems we had on that side of the street with our stormwater drainage, anything to disturb that down there is not what we want to have happen. So that's really not what you're going to discuss tonight. You don't have to approve anything. We just got them convinced that it would make more sense to send the electricity to a different spot. All right, that being said, let's move to ordinance 23-3, Discuss passage of the second reading of ordinance 23-3, which would amend chapter 87 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Belle Plaine by amending the provisions pertaining to water rates. Water rates would go from $7.38 per thousand to $7.82 per thousand, and out-of-town rates would go from $9.43 to $9.99 per thousand. This is passed its first reading. It's on its second reading. And again, because it's a major money item, we'll follow the complete code and go meeting by meeting to pass this. So, questions, discussions, poison darts that have been thrown at you after people reading about it, or is that coming up after
Usually
Goes into
happens after
effect.
the third reading.
usually comes up in August?
Wait till they get their bill.
Yeah.
Well, I need a motion on this one.
I make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 23-3, amend chapter 87 of Code of Ordinances for water rate changes.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Last chance for discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. You'll see the third reading next month, not next month, next meeting. Discuss for possible passage of the second reading of ordinance 23-4, which would amend chapter 99 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Belle Plaine by amending the provisions pertaining to sewer service charges. Sewer rates would go from $11.84 per thousand to $12.54 per thousand. Again, same situation. We will do the second reading tonight, and if it passes, the third reading will come at the next council meeting. So, comments, questions? Again, trying to get the water department, both water and sewer balanced, so that we have good balancing accounts in there. I know people think that we are making expensive items, but we're not. We do build a water treatment facility. There'll be probably more added to this. Need a motion.
I'll move to approve the second reading of ordinance 23-4 to amend chapter 99 of the sewer rates.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Last chance for discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. See the third readings of those the next meeting. Agenda number 9, discuss for possible passage of the second reading ordinance 23-5, an ordinance that amends section 165.05 of the Belle Plaine Municipal Code to change the zoning of the property located at the southeast corner of 11th Street, and First Avenue in Belle Plaine. We had done first reading of this, and he did go through the second part of the zoning ordinance with, help me, yeah, Board of Adjustment, and got their approval for what he wants to do down there. So we're just finishing up cleaning that zoning mess up. It's going to be an improvement to that area, and if he buys and takes that house across the street and takes that out of there, that huge improvement on the far end of 11th. Questions,
I
comments?
actually think he already owns it.
Okay, I drove by there today and was looking to see if
I think it's already a done deal. So
good. I can't wait for that one. That one's the only thing I can note about that building for all my years in office is we could be in the dead of a drought and have water out of the curb, sump pump out of the basement, pumping water. We need a motion on this one.
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 23-05.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Last chance for discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Discuss for possible approval to waive the third and final reading of ordinance 23-5 and ordinance amending section 165.05 of the Belle Plaine Municipal Code to change the zoning of the property located at the southeast corner of 11th Street, First Avenue in Belle Plaine, Iowa. Should be simple. Do I have a motion on this?
I move to approve waiving the third and final reading of ordinance 23-5.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Last chance for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Or number 10, discuss for possible approval resolution 230604, resolution approving the cost of living adjustments, COLAs, for all non-bargaining city employees. Go through those.
These numbers were what you all budgeted in the budget process.
If I was looking at this and saying with the way the clerks have picked up part of my job, with my health concerns, and the more grants that we approve, the more paperwork that's shuffled to our clerks, and I mean big amounts of paperwork. I got one clerk working with the RAGBRAI committee, got another clerk working with United Way. I really think they should receive 5 or 6% myself. That's my opinion, but we based it on the budget, so I'll leave it in your hands. But they have now, I think they fully understand why I'm sitting in my office doodling for 7 days trying to get the packet put together, that it's not as easy as it sometimes looks. And then I found out Monday when you had to add something and redo everything again and republish it, repost it. It's nothing more frustrating than coming back here on Monday and have to tear everything down and put it up on the windows and put it on Facebook. They've been doing an excellent job at doing that. Comments, questions, thoughts?
I have no problem with giving a little bit more on to the clerks because I've been in the office enough to see that, they've picked up a lot of extra duties. How would we deal with that since it's outside of the budget? Just move things around or,
I mean, where would we get the money?
yeah,
I would go to my top shuffler and ask her where I've got some money to pull from one of the accounts to, so whether that's find the other, if you're going 1% or 2% to the assistant clerk out of, I don't know whether there's money over there on cats and dogs or water. There's money in garbage. I'm sure there's, well, Sandy, this is your chance to tell me where I find 2% or 1% extra for you guys.
I think we could take it out of the,
There's a little extra in franchise. We're pulling in a little more than we originally planned on because we only budgeted 2.5 and we're getting 3.
There you are, get it from franchise fees.
Okay.
What would
And
your,
water is doing much better.
what would your pleasure be? 5% or 6%?
So are we gonna do this across the board to everybody, or are we just picking the clerks? Because, I mean, I'm sure.
My recommendation was on the clerks because they have picked up extra duties. Sorry, Jay, but me being sick, I don't think you had to do any of my stuff.
No, I'm good.
Plus, when I was laying flat on my back in the hospital, they answered all my text messages. And told me stuff like, quit worrying about it.
We got you.
I'd recommend 5% for the clerks.
Does that sound good for everyone?
I'm just going to point this out. We've had a year where we've had a lot of expenses, and I think we need to be careful with our budget. I know that they all work very hard, but, I think the police and everybody else do a lot of extra things too. So, 1% I don't think is going to break the bank, but I think we need to be conscious that we have to keep our budget controlled.
Okay,
I'm gonna agree with Mitch on that. I think that we budgeted for 4%, and like he said, we've had some.
I just think you keep it there for this year, and then we look at it next year, but I think we just keep ourselves to our
and We're
budget.
moving forward.
okay. That sounds like the majority of the council is saying leave it at 4, so discussion on what's on the resolution itself. Hearing nothing, I'll take a motion then for approval of this one.
Make a motion to approve resolution 230604, approving cost of living adjustments for all non-bargaining city workers.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries 4-0. Okay, number 11, consideration of a motion approving Belle Plaine Community Development Corporation's request to close 12th Street between 7th and 10th Avenues and those corresponding side streets off 12th Street on July 3rd from 12 p.m. to 1 a.m. on the 4th of July for the annual car show, street dance, kids fun zone, and bags tournament. Questions?
Is this any different than the streets that we normally close? Have we extended it at all?
Are we going down a little bit farther?
Right, we're going down past,
The
the
lawyers.
museum
Yeah,
and like,
it's all right
like
down
all
to
the
the
way kind
lawyer.
of towards the caboose.
Right,
So, but we've got that included on here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
going all the way to 10th Ave.
Yeah.
Tenth Avenue, yeah,
So that's about
half
half
a block.
a block more than
More.
we've
Yeah.
done before.
yeah.
That's what I was thinking. We made a slight change to it.
And the side streets are both 9th, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they
Eight,
did.
eight and nine.
8
Yeah,
and 9.
yeah, that's good. Because that makes it walkable, and yeah, I think that just makes it a much more.
Well, and you can't drive there anyway.
No,
So,
plus,
you know,
yeah,
it
but it's
makes
just for
more
the car
sense.
show that just makes it makes that whole
We
downtown
needed
area.
those extensions for the car show
Yeah.
last year. And now with extending another half a block, that hopefully, I hope we were down there kicking ourselves saying we need more room, we got more cars. It'd be nice if we even top that, but
Mhm.
when you take that first block up with the kids zone, and now you got a bags tournament we gotta fit in. I thought they did a super job last year putting stuff in places, so. I look for a motion on this one.
I move to approve the Belle Plaine Community Development Corp. Request to close 12th Street between 7th and 10th Avenues and those corresponding side streets off of 12th on July 3rd from 12 p.m. until 1 a.m. on the 4th.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Item number 12. It's an oldie but a goodie. Consideration of a motion approving Belle Plaine City Council hire security guards for the street dance. We've done this for the last 2 years, maybe 3 years, 2 years for sure. And it's not fair to make Belle Plaine Development pay for it. And we just don't have manpower. If we had five-man force with 5 reserves, we could just bring in reserve officers and put them on duty, but we don't have that. So even though the security guards don't overly impress me as being able to stop a riot if it occurs in the street dance.
How many is there normally for that?
Usually hire 3 and it costs us between $400 and $500. I think having them there in their yellow security guard shirts and their walkie-talkies and ability to get a hold of our police if we have a situation is just a safety valve for
Right.
having a fun event.
Yeah.
Especially when you have an event that has alcohol mixed with it.
Right.
Surprisingly enough, we have not had very many problems with alcohol-related incidents. July 3rd or July 4th. At least not in the public areas. Looking for a motion on this one.
I'll make a motion to approve the Belle Plaine City Council hire security guards for the street dance.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Consideration of a motion approving Belle Plaine 4th of July Committee's request to close 12th Street between 7th and 12th Avenue from 9 to 11:30 a.m. for the 4th of July parade. That's the normal procedure. Discussion, that reminds me, I gotta go buy Tootsie Rolls. Not Tootsie Rolls.
Tootsie Pops.
Yeah. Despite the fact that I sell Tootsie Rolls once a year. Or I browbeat the public into taking a Tootsie Roll before they get out of town.
You throw those big size Tootsie Rolls out of your car on the 4th of July, you may knock out a few kids.
To make sure they're looking.
Gotta look and make sure you haven't got little ones scrambling out there anyway, trying to ace out the big guys. Need a motion on this one.
I make a motion to approve Belle Plaine 4th of July Committee request to close 12th Street between 7th and 12th Avenue.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0 passage. Consideration of motion to approve the Belle Plaine 4th of July Committee's annual fireworks show at Franklin Park under the direction of the Director of Pyrotechnic Displays, Joel Hunzelke, for the city of Belle Plaine. I know that last line in there looks ridiculous, except under Homeland Security laws, we have to officially approve him before they can deliver the fireworks to his house or to Belle Plaine. So it's there, one, to give recognition to Jody and his guys that do that. But the other one is to make sure they can get their hands on the fireworks. So is there a motion on that?
I move to approve Belle Plaine's 4th of July Committee annual fireworks show at Franklin Park.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Number 14, discuss for possible approval resolution 230603, a resolution authorizing temporary handicap parking on 13th Street by the Catholic Church. Discussion? If not, I need a motion.
I make a motion to approve resolution 230603, authorizing temporary handicap parking on 13th Street.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I will take care of contacting the church board, letting them know they got their handicap parking, but they have to buy their own portable handicap signs, and I do have, we possibly can get that for them and then charge them for it. And then I'll remind them that you guys want something put in their bulletin. I did look last Sunday. The people in the close-in spots, the people in the handicap spots are all have to be handicap stickers, and then the closer in ones are all pretty much our older parish members. The younger parish members usually park up in the parking lot, so.
But I think just with 13th being flat, it's a lot safer for, because I've watched a couple of elderly ladies try to get in their car on the hill. and
Your
that's-
decision to do it on 13th Street would make total sense, 'cause
Yeah.
9th Avenue.
No, that's much safer for people who need stable ground to get to church. I think that's a smart idea on their part.
In fact, maybe I'm not gonna be around tomorrow, Jay. Friday, let's look and see what it would cost for 2 portable items.
Okay.
Hey, not bad, folks. It's not 7 o'clock and we're done with page 1. Come to page 2, folks. Discuss for possible approval, resolution 230601, a resolution authorizing signatories for all of the, okay.
CDBG.
Well, I put a hole through it. CDBGDR programs, so I didn't know what I was asking you guys to approve. I did know what Again, it goes back to CDBG, or the stuff we do with EasyCog, money to EasyCog, and it, because it's federal, needs to have authorized signatures for it. It's not that we're out spending wildly, we're hoping to get money to pay for anything we get from it. I still think that's imperative that we grab every state dollar, federal dollar we can get our hands on. Is there a motion for this one?
I move to approve resolution 230601, authorizing signatories for the CDBG-DR programs.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Discuss for possible approval resolution 230606, a resolution authorizing and directing EasyCog to submit application and associated documents for funding for CDBG-DR deratio generator program for fire department generator to IED. Steve, you want to throw something in on that one?
This is something that we were trying to get through FEMA, and they just kept kicking the can down the road. So this DR funding came through, and Jennifer Fensel and I talked about it, and we decided to do the fire department grant through DR, and then later on, you guys will hopefully approve the resolution for us to get the finish up the final components of the well field generator.
So we gave up on FEMA. This is just an alternate direction.
When I talked
for
to
funding.
Homeland Security, they're like, we were trying to get one for here, and because there's a city hall administration attached to the public safety, we didn't qualify. And I said, well, this is also our emergency command center. And they said, well, what's your emergency center budget? I'm like, well, we don't budget for, we don't know when we're going to have an emergency. So they're like, well, that doesn't really count. So we're going to look for a different way to get a generator here. And
Or if
be
not,
thankful.
go with whatever the cost is out of our COVID funds.
Yeah, that could work.
This building needs to be in operation. We can't do everything. I mean, we need to have one for the well field. We need to have, of course, the community center's already covered. We need one for the fire department because it makes it much easier for those guys on what they need to do. You know, the first couple days was okay. That wasn't so bad being down there 24 hours a day. But after about a week of that, the young guys got tired of it. And we need this command center up because that's where the phone calls are coming in, and that our police are operating, and that's where our emergency management team will operate out of this room. So the second we got one here, so I would say that should be a priority to start looking into the price of what it's going to cost us for a generator for this building. But let's get back to this one. Looking for a motion.
I make a motion to approve resolution 230606, authorizing and directing EasyCog to submit application, associated documents for funding of CDBG-DR to reach a generator program.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0. Discuss for possible approval of resolution 230607, a resolution authorizing and directing EasyCog to submit application and associated documents for funding for the CDBG-DR deratio tree canopy and tree planting program.
Jennifer Fensel and I worked on this one as well. This one's a little bit different than the other tree grants we've gotten. So it has the opportunity to have maintenance function with the funding. So we could potentially use some of the funding to pay someone to maintain some of the trees or get more expensive trees, or they capped it at $1,000 a tree, whether, you know, and it's over a couple year.
So this is only for public property within the city limits of Belle Plaine,
Public grounds, yeah.
public grounds, okay.
So it could, you know, they could go anywhere on public ground, you know, if it was like the well field or the sewer plant are
Right.
technically in city limits right now.
Okay.
But parks and rights of way.
Have our lawyers gone through this service? Why don't I have it right after this?
She said something on her vote.
Okay, my bad. Stuck with the connection.
So this is hopefully we'll get this and then build on it with DNR grants and or Alliant Energy grants and or Trees Forever grants, like we've been just going to keep applying for grants for trees.
When you said there's $1,000 cap on this, is that encouraging us to get larger trees, which are harder to maintain?
The tree board and I've talked about that. Our strategy is to get the smaller trees so they don't go through what's called transplant shock. So for every inch of caliper, that's another year of transplant shock. So if you get a 5-inch tree, it's going to sit there for 5 years potentially and not grow, just kind of stabilize. So we're buying those smaller trees, and then in 5 years they're bigger than the.
Yeah.
And I think that was some advice from both John Atkins, the whole tree board agreed on that, and it's less watering too per unit.
Do we have a motion on this one?
I move to approve resolution 230607, authorizing and directing ECOG to submit application and associated documents for funding the CDBG-DR derecho tree canopy and tree replanting program.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Last chance for discussion.
I neglected to mention the Carol Sue Donovan Fund grant that we've received too. Thank you.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Now, number 18, discuss for possible approval of service agreement for EasyCog project delivery and administration services. If awarded, no charge up front, is 100% grant cover. But has our legal team gone through this service?
Yeah, I just went through it while you were debating the last one. What I can tell you is that the CBDG dollars would go for the fee. Termination looks like that the city can terminate it within 7 days. So I mean, there's not a whole lot of,
Okay,
but no, I mean, I did not review it before the meeting, but it looks like it's pretty straightforward and it's one page.
I apologize if I didn't send that to you. I don't know
Yeah, I'm not
if
sure.
you did.
If you did, I did not see it.
discussion, council? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
I move to approve the service agreement for EasyCog project delivery and administration services, if awarded.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Now last chance for discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried 4-0.
Do we have any idea when we'll find out if we got awarded this grant?
I don't know when they're going to announce that.
Discuss for possible approval, resolution 230605, a resolution approving the articles of agreement creating the Middle Iowa Watershed Management Authority. And again, has our legal team gone through this?
Yeah, so this one I did review before. It was Steve sent it over a couple weeks ago, and I mean, there's not really a whole lot to report on it. There's a couple typographical errors in it, which I assume will be cleaned up before it's signed. But in that second paragraph, 2 is misspelled. Our address is correct.
I thought that one.
Yeah, and then in section 10, you'll see where the termination provision is. Basically says that this agreement shall terminate on the majority vote of the board or agreement of the governing bodies of all members. There's also a part in there that says that a member can withdraw from membership under section 12. I think it's pretty standard. Steve, do you want to kind of explain what this is and why that we're entering into it?
So if you turn to the map, that'd be the second page or the first page with anything on it. I've been working with some folks on this with the 2080 agreement and also the bylaws for this. This Watershed Management Authority will be similar to, after the flood of 2008, they did the Mid-Cedar River project from Waterloo to Cedar Rapids, and they had a couple $2 billion, I think, allocated to that Watershed Management Authority. So they were able to use that funding to do things, build retention ponds, detention ponds, wetlands, marshes, anything to slow down the water, to purify the water, to capture water, so when it rains, it holds instead of just washing down. Erosion control and drought prevention. So by being a part of this, we will be eligible for funding in this. And it'll, to my knowledge, it'll give the watershed management some authority to take some steps with anybody in that region to encourage them to reduce their runoff.
Do you have any idea where they are in getting other participants to join this?
So Jennifer Fensel, this is another thing I've been working on with her. She helped do, I think she helped do the Mid Cedar and some other watershed management authorities so they could get grant funding. I don't know where anybody else is at with this. I think it's a really good idea. And when Mayor Fish and I met with Ashley Hinson after the derecho, I presented this idea. I'm not saying that I invented this. I just mentioned it to her at that meeting that we needed to consider that because of the water concerns that we have in our area on the Iowa River. And I talked to more people about it, and it kind of, there were some other people working on it too. So we all came together.
I like the way Cedar Rapids gets drawn in by just the perimeter going over the south side.
Yeah. And essentially what this is the ridge line of where the water, everything north of that would flow to the Cedar River or to
All
the,
that would flow down to the Iowa River.
yeah, anything in this orange
Yeah.
line is in the watershed. So if a drop of rain hits there, it runs to the Iowa River, basically.
You don't see where if we would make a decision on any of our decisions coming down the road that this is going to restrict anything for us doing anything, right?
I think it'll open up more opportunities for us to get funding to do things
I
like,
just think sometimes you get into this and all of a sudden there's landmines you didn't know about that now you want to do this and, oh, by the way,
sure.
we're now telling you that, you know, you're part of this group and that's not allowed.
Well, the Supreme Court actually just passed something with the waters of the United States that actually took a lot of land out of the waters of the United States categories. So for instance, I don't want to go on too long about it, but like Minnow Creek is a waters of the United States. So they would have jurisdiction over that. One of the little tributaries, like the one that goes out to Pierce Lumber, probably won't be now, or something like that. Or
They don't do eminent domain or anything like that.
no,
Okay.
this is all in an effort to improve the water quality.
That's right on our whole.
So yeah, I'm on
Watershed.
the steering committee for this, and essentially, and we've met a couple of times, and I highly recommend that we get involved in it.
Other questions? If there aren't, we'll take a motion.
I make a motion to approve 230605, approving the Articles of Agreement creating the Middle Iowa Watershed Management Authority.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Last chance for discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Discuss for possible approval, resolution 230608, a resolution approving federal procurement policy and procedures for use with federal programs.
This is not
Can you read all this to us?
significantly- This is not significantly different than what we've approved in the past. It just adds some more verbiage because the federal government likes their words.
had that kickback.
Updating what we have had, because we had to approve this when we first got involved with FEMA a couple of years ago. And this just updates some of the stuff that they've added to the federal procedure.
So that we can
Bring us
receive
into
funding.
compliance, so we can still receive federal funding.
It looked kind of familiar, and I just assumed that maybe the blue edits were the new items.
Some of it, that's some of it.
Further questions? Motion?
I move to approve resolution 230608, approving federal procurement policy and procedures.
Is there a second to that motion?
Also, okay.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 4-0. Discuss for possible approval resolution, discuss for possible approval agreement with Veenstra and Kim for administrative and management services and engineering cost estimate services for repairs for the grants under the DR 4557 ratio. Want to explain this one, Steve?
So when we started on our FEMA journey, we found out that there was a lot to it, and I didn't think that it was something that we were going to be able to handle on our own. So I consulted with Leon Freeman, who was hired by Veenstra and Kim, who used to work for Homeland Security for 10 years. And he has helped us with all of our projects, and it's kind of helping be a conduit between us and FEMA and Homeland Security. The original contract was a not to exceed a certain dollar amount, and we've reached that point. It was a pretty close guess. This would allow him to keep helping us under an agreement. And
What are those costs? Are they in here?
they basically work time and material for us. It's mostly time. And the hourly rates are on the back.
So we're kind of approaching the end of this process, right?
Yeah, well, so if we get the generator grant out there, we were awarded the welcome sign replacement with that. We don't have a grain bin, so we have to figure out that. It'll probably have to be a billboard or something like that. And then wrap up on Minnow Creek, which is going to be happening in the next, we're completing that, but the paperwork following that. And then the Board of Appeal, the Civilian Board of Appeals ruling for the roads and bridges. I called Leon today to try going over some of that stuff, and he was not, he was on a job site. He couldn't really talk too much. But I also tried getting a hold of Dennis with Homeland Security to talk to him about where we're at with things with the Civilian Board of Appeals too.
So we paid them along the way.
Yeah, they just billed us. out. I mean, they invoiced us monthly,
Okay.
and that administrative cost was part of the,
I mean, are we spending like $10,000, $100,000?
it wouldn't be anywhere close to $100,000, but the FEMA money pays for we get reimbursed for it, correct, Sandy? For the administrative stuff.
Didn't file any of it yet.
Yeah, so we got to finish that up, but it's supposed to be, FEMA pays X amount of percent, and then Homeland Security pays the rest. I think it's 90-10.
Have our lawyers gone over this agreement?
Yeah,
I
so
think so.
the one question that I had on it, and I just wanted, that's what I was trying to make sure I was looking at the right one. We're talking about the agreement, as you said, the agreement, correct?
Yeah.
All right. I mean, it looks like this is kind of incomplete in a way, that there's some blanks that are like the maximum fee amount not to exceed. Are those going to be filled in?
I think that you all can fill it in. We can establish, the council can establish that.
Like specifically, I guess, under like paragraph 17, I would direct the council's attention to
What page are you on?
page 4. It just says that for the scope of the services set forth here in preliminary design, the fee of the project shall not exceed a fee of blank. So I didn't know exactly how.
I think last time it was 25 or 26,000. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I guess that would just be something for the council. I would suggest that the council come up with that number before we approve an agreement.
And that's kind of why they just left
Yeah.
it for us to tailor make it to what we think we may need.
I'm just curious because maybe I'm mixing two things up, but last meeting and the meeting before, we were not saying if we'd had our choice again, we wouldn't pick Beaster and Kim because of the water study. And all of a sudden we're signing a contract and spending a whole bunch more money with them.
This is has only to do with
That's what I want.
this is
Yeah.
just finishing up FEMA stuff.
I just wanted to have that clear
And
and
it's
stated.
to get one person.
Right, I understand.
Yeah.
And I wanted that
Yeah.
cleared and stated
Yeah.
But
because
how are we supposed to pick out the numbers to put in?
Well, it seems to me like on the front page, it said entered into this blank day of March 2021,
Yeah,
so,
that have to be updated.
That would have to be updated. too.
oh, okay.
This is when we got it. They sent it over.
So we've done this before?
Yeah, we had an original not to exceed
Right.
contract with them.
Yeah, and I didn't compare the two, but assuming that this was taken from that, there's something very similar. I will say, as far as an exposure standpoint, there's a termination clause that's pretty favorable to the city. On page 5, paragraph 20, it says that the city may terminate this agreement for convenience of the city upon 7 days written notice to the engineers in the event of a termination. For the convenience of the city, the in-case shall be proportionally paid for the work that they've done. So it doesn't lock us into anything. So we complete a project with them, and we want to be done with this agreement, we can terminate it within 7 days of written notice.
So we just need to figure out what we agreed on before and then make a projection on what's
Yeah.
reasonable going forward. I
Right.
just, we'll have.
So they don't take like 10% of the total
Right.
the projects. They just pick whatever. Largely it is just Leon, but there's sometimes he has to consult with someone, like when we had the roads and bridges stuff. So if those come about, then that would, I don't know what that fee would be, but I would say we'd probably be safe with capping it at 20,000. But that would only be just their time and material. They don't get paid 20,000 if they bill out time.
Maximum.
Yeah. But you all can just make that decision on the cap.
And I would assume that if we cap it at 10,000 and it does go to 20,000, then they'd just be back here asking for another agreement.
Which is what happened here.
Right.
because we exceeded our,
So we'd be in the same position we are now, which is we must have exceeded the cap under the previous agreement, so now we're back here.
right.
To it.
When we first started this, I can't remember how it all came about, but I was concerned about how much it would cost. So I wanted to put a cap on it. So I asked them to give us, from what I recall, like a rough ballpark, and it got us pretty close.
So what do you recommend that we put in this time?
I think 20 should probably cover it.
So who's controlling as far as how much they're doing? You?
They just
You
work on
mean-
stuff when we call them,
Okay.
or Sandy asks a question, I ask a question. If something needs filed, or we have to argue with someone and speak their language, Leon, can we have a conference call with,
So that's really who we're hiring, is this Leon dude. Are there other people involved that
Rarely.
get involved?
Only if Leon needs more expertise than that.
yeah. I think things have went pretty well with Leon. And Homeland Security, we now have a really good relationship with.
Complexity of all this, I think you have to have somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, and it'll come to an end here one of these days.
I like that. That's
So are you recommending 20,000 be put in both of those blanks? You got page 4, you got A and B with 2 blanks, like you got question marks in both sentences.
I think we could probably set A for 10 and B for 20. Thanks for the clarification on that. And that's just a best guess. Like Gage said, if we get more awards and we have more work, we'll just have to kind of do this again. Hopefully the last time we did this was 2.5 years ago. So
Is there anything else needs filled in?
Just,
the date stuff.
stating of the dates.
Yeah.
So what's Leon charging us, like $200 an hour?
So
Well, the fees are on the back.
Right, but I don't know if he's considered management
Right.
or client services or process engineer.
That's a top dollar.
Yeah, I was gonna say
he is not an engineer. He is a manager.
Client services.
I don't remember his specific title, but he is not the top paid.
$30,000 at $150 an hour, that's 200 hours of work.
Yeah.
Is that what you're gonna need from him?
If we don't need it, then we don't need it.
Okay.
It's just capped at that. And whatever we have them do, we get reimbursed as administrative fees.
I guess I'm just looking at it as someone, no offense, don't take any offense, but I know every time you pick up and call a lawyer, you know, the clock starts ticking and all these seconds. I said, please don't take offense, because when it's my lawyer, you're the best. When you're someone else's lawyer, eh. But anyway, what I'm saying is that if you give them a full amount, big amount, some companies just will make sure that they spend every dime of it.
Well,
So
I call
if we
from
have to
my,
come back and do this process again, give them 10 and 10. If we have to do this process again, then we do it again. But then they see that, okay, look, we're not handing you, $50,000 to go spend. I guess I don't know if that puts it in their mind. They're going to be a little
well,
conservative with their, and I'm not trying to tie your hands at all either.
no, I think that this has some wiggle as a contingency in it. And, the last 6 times I've called Leon. He's like, yeah, we're getting close to the end of our contract. Just wanted to let you know. And I was like, all right, well, can you send out a new one? So he just got reminded by his, accounts receivable that, we're getting close. And I think it could have just carried over, but
So should that be 10 and 10 or 10 and 20?
I mean, I'll use it to your judgment. I don't want to tie your hands all I make you feel,
I
but
think
I
it
also think that we need to sometimes put reins on outside contractors when you can, to let them know that we're not just gonna spend money away and you guys can just go and, have hours and hours of research.
If he was independent though, Mitch, we wouldn't be going through Beanstra and Kim to get it.
I understand. No, I totally get that.
I think that I guess the accountability from that standpoint, I get what you're saying, Mitch, would be, I assume the bills get submitted to Steve at some point, and, then it's Steve's or whoever's responsibility to go through the bills and say, hey, is this really worth that? Is this really what it's valued
Right.
at? And then if there is a little fat to be trimmed or whatever, then that's a conversation that either Steve has to have or the city council has to have with Leon.
yeah, like when I call Gage or I email Gage, when we get the invoices, it's an email or a 15-minute call or a 10-minute call or whatever. It's
That's
just
fine. I just wanted to have the conversation to
Sure.
knock that out, but yeah, I don't want to tie your hands at all with getting the worst of this work done, so.
Sandy, if you don't mind if I ask you, how do you feel that it's gone? I mean, how far do you feel we would have gotten without this?
Not very far, because they were trying really hard to shut us down before Leon got.
Yeah, I don't even think we would have gotten anything.
We wouldn't have anything from Middle Creek. We wouldn't have the welcome sign.
Yeah, I mean, and even like with the Board of Appeals, I was like, well, we have to do the second appeal or whatever. He's like, no, we're not doing a second appeal. We're going straight to DC. So that was as high as we could go. So that was our best shot because they just kept.
I'm fine. Let's keep it at 10 and 20. And if you're comfortable with that and keep an eye on it, that's fine.
Is everybody over here comfortable with those numbers? Any other questions or concerns? I guess I will re-emphasize. We're going with Main Street Kim so we can get Leon, not because we're happy with him as an engineering firm. But I know Leon's been really important with all this FEMA stuff. So I'll look for a motion to approve this resolution. Or this agreement, excuse me. It's not a resolution.
I move to approve the agreement with Feenstra and Kim for administrative and management services and engineering cost estimates and so forth for grants under DR 4557, the derecho.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries 4-0. Okay, discuss for possible approval, proposed request for qualifications for engineering services. Talked about this at the previous meeting,
And nothing changed.
and nothing changed. Questions, comments, poison darts?
Let's hope the right guy just pops in, right?
Well, if I may, I think after, if this is approved and we get proposal or the request for qualifications or qualifications and things like that, I would like to have our public works staff help guide this because they're going to be working with me and an engineering firm on our critical projects. So they've got to be somebody that can work with.
So I
Does that
assume
make
you're
sense?
saying you want them in on the interview process.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Well, I think we will, yeah, we can talk about that.
Where
I
we
don't- I'm not
adver-
opposed to
Where
that.
are we gonna advertise for engineers?
We can send them to people that we want to respond, or we can post it. I can post it.
I think
On
gotta
League of
post it.
Cities.
You have to post it somewhere where anyone can bid on it.
Yeah. So we can,
That's required.
right, so we can figure out how you guys want to do that. If you want to do it on our website, if you want to do it on
There's
League of
gotta be-
Cities.
Put it someplace that.
Gotta be
engineers
some engineers
look at, you know.
read.
And engineers
Like
are
an
us.
engineered list or list or email or post.
I can ask the league. If they have
Yeah, I think there's a
recommendations.
place on the League of Cities we could
Well, I
post it.
mean, I'm not necessarily saying that's the place, I'm saying they may know the best place to post something like that.
But they're posted more often than not. Or more places.
Does Cirrus do stuff like that? Do they strictly, does Cirrus do stuff like that out of Ames?
I
Do
am,
they, I think they have engineering service.
yeah, I think they do. I think they do.
Make sure you check with the League of Cities. And check with Clerk. This is-
And where I got this document was from, it was kind of based on an RFQ, 2 RFQs from both of my city administrator mentors. So, and they highly recommended when I asked, like, you know, how do you guys handle these things, or what's the best route? And they're like, you just need to have a firm, a person, your go-to for
And then
these
ask
things.
them where they advertise for engineers. Sure, one of the fine engineers from WRH or something.
Oh, you just had to go
They're not
there.
engineers.
Oh, did I say that? Motion or further questions?
I move to approve the proposed request for qualifications for engineering services.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Been moved in second, and last chance for discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 4-0. Discuss for possible approval a new 5-day Class C retail alcohol license with outdoor service for Main Street Bakery and Cafe at 1804 Iowa Highway 21, Belle Plains, part of the Ragbri setup, folks.
The issue that I'm going to bring up, and no offense against our good friends in Keystone, but this is really the very entrance into town. And we've tried to push all of the other all the Belle Plaine groups and everybody on Main Street, and now we're going to authorize an out-of-town group to be the first vendor in town. I just don't think that
But actually
location's.
want to-
Yeah, I talked to her and then we talked about actually, the reason why she did it is because it was like a $350 fee for out of town. She is a small business. We are offering her the $50. However, I talked to her. She says you guys could, whether or not not approve the license. But she said she's worried about the food license that she'd be able to get approved because of the location. She has to resubmit the liquor license and also the food But actually, I believe the food license she has all the way to the end of June. So I need to clarify with, the food, inspector at Blackhawk.
She thinks she's too late.
She thinks
We
it's too
think
late,
she's
and I
not.
believe it's the end of June.
So I think she's
Well,
interested in moving.
Those are all her problems, but I'm just looking as the fairness of the Belle Plaine businesses that we've all said have to be on Main Street or somewhere else. And, you know, I realize this is a huge event, and yeah, there's thousands of people, but, you know, I think we should protect our Belle Plaine vendors. She's welcome to
It's
come
also
on
not
Main
the only
Street
one.
like everybody else. What's that?
She's also not the only one that's not on Main Street.
Right, but there are Belle Plaine people that are not on Main Street, right? Yeah, but that, like the Prestons, I mean, that makes sense that they're actually at their site. That's a historical site. That makes total sense that Mary's there. But I think that for an out-of-town group to be,
What
right,
address is that, any?
that's
Corey's.
Corey's truck.
Yeah,
Do we know why she chose that location, Ashley?
she is friends with them.
She's also.
And that's, I mean, she's a great business. I've been there.
Right,
At
me too.
the Keystone Car Show.
Fantastic.
She's done a great job,
Mhm.
really has, and I don't mean to belittle small business in any whatsoever way in any small town around us. Everyone's fighting, but I'm just thinking about, you know, fairness for the Belle Plaine vendors that are setting up, that if she wanted to be on Main Street somewhere, she could have done that, and I wouldn't have said a word. But for her to be right there in the beginning, that just kind of smacks of, that's just my opinion. I mean, maybe it's not that big of a deal and everyone's gonna keep trucking into town. There's plenty of money to go around and it's not gonna be a big deal. I'm just
She's
thinking,
doing it out of a Belle Plaine business, though.
a truck business that the minute that Drag Ride's gone, she's out of town and gone, and
Well, so we'll, wine on
So
wheels.
who do you think she's competing with?
oh, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the rest of the people in Belle Plaine, if she was on Main Street, that'd be fine, but
Well, I can, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but RAGBRAI told us to target 20 vendors, and we're not there yet.
Okay.
And we're not getting local participants. Very few local participants, very few local businesses.
Because
are
right
planning
now,
to
we
participate.
have 10.
I assume it is that because they don't want to pay the RAGBRAI fees.
No, because
no.
local vendors are not a very high fee.
Right. Yeah, because the local vendor is only $50.
I know, but
Yeah.
the Facebook chatter is, why the hell do we have to pay fees? It's our town.
Yeah,
Yeah, but even before there were fees attached, when you talk to some of our local businesses, they were like, well, the last time it came through was kind of a bust for us, or we broke even, so it's not worth all the work, we're not gonna play. That was before we had any numbers set to it.
So I hear what you're saying, Mitch, but I'm hearing them say. we
No,
don't have
that's-
enough vendors.
well, if we've given all of our people a fair chance and that's what's going on, then I guess, you know, I just wanted to talk about it because that's the first place when you come right into town and it's not a Belle Plaine vendor. It's not a
And we
Belle
are
Plaine
still
company.
trying to work with her, to see if we can get her to relocate, but.
right.
Well, I'll leave that up to you guys. I mean, I don't want to be a thorn. I just pointed that out just because that just kind of seems.
So that being said, is there a motion to approve this?
Why were you guys talking to her already about, doing something different?
Because we recognize the fact that it's not on Main Street like
Oh,
everybody else.
Okay,
And we wanted to see if we could get, because we wanted to make sure, because when we were at the meeting on April 1st, they suggested that they wanted us to have all the vendors in one location, central location, and that's where you have the most success, is where you have everybody in one spot. So if you have places where you're just stopping and stopping, it kind of messes up your flow. So they recommend trying to keep everything in one central location.
Okay.
So that's why we're kind of trying to, because I approached her actually. I went to her business and asked if she'd be interested, and then I don't know, she went somewhere else.
So is she going to be offering anything that our own vendors that you know of so far are going to be offering on Main Street?
The only thing I do know, I think Bloody Marys, I think that Mary's was gonna do Bloody Marys. I know, also, I have another vendor, the Wine on Wheels, they do Bloody Marys too. So,
Wonder what-
Personally,
And then they do
I'd
iced
like to
coffee.
see her on Main Street.
they do the iced coffee, which I thought the iced coffee would be nice to have on Main Street. Oh, and she's doing bakery goods as well.
Which nobody else is.
No one else is
No
doing
one
that.
else is doing that. So it's basically, it sounds like it's the Bloody Marys and the alcohol.
The Bloody Marys is pretty much the only thing she's doing for alcohol.
That, but I mean, that might be in competition with our
Right.
other.
Right.
Well, it's up to you guys.
No way to get her on Main Street.
That's what I'm working on.
I'm trying.
I'm trying to get her, so I think like, if I could, I need to talk to, the Blackhawk food inspector, because I believe it's the end of June. And I don't know where she got May, the end of May. So, that's when I last talked to the Blackhawk food inspector, I thought it was the end of June that they needed to be submitted.
Well, I would be in favor of just tabling this until we can find out if we could get her on Main Street, if that would work out.
Right.
And then I get no problem with where she came from or what she's going to be offering.
If I may offer some, when people are riding on Ragbri, they have like road bikes and they don't really want to take them on gravel at all. So it would be more advantageous for her to be up here where people would stop. Like if I had a bike like that, I wouldn't be pulling off into the gravel and not have a place to park it and no shade. And, you know, like it's not really that great of a spot, if that helps with anything, because there's like good parking and
Except you have no idea how she's gonna set up.
I don't think she'd be able to set up on the highway.
You didn't say on the highway, but in the first place, your thing about bikes and that gravel is that's immaterial. They're not riding it, they're coasting into it. She could be put out.
After a
big
couple of
tents.
Bloody Marys, it could be material.
That also could be material on the highway.
Right,
So,
exactly.
but we have no idea what Corey's offering her, that he's gonna clean out the front of his shop and have it in there so that there is shade. I think you can't speak for her at this point.
But
I
she's,
think tabling is fine.
she definitely said she was willing to try and go on Main Street. It's just, she's just worried about getting her license approved and being able to in time.
Well, if you check into that, assure that you can get it, tell her the council will take this up at the next meeting.
Can we even state if she goes on Main Street, we'll definitely approve it, but otherwise we'll table it until she makes a decision, because I mean, it'd be great to have her, and you know, her store is really great in Keystone, but I just think the location's wrong.
Actually, for the liquor license, don't you have to have an address to approve it?
Yes.
Well,
And that's why she has to resubmit because of the address.
All right, we'll table it for now.
Okay.
Move to 24, discuss for possible approval a new 5-day Class C retail alcohol license with outdoor service for Wine on Wheels at 715 12th Street.
is that the King Theater?
They just had to pick it at Main Street address.
Oh, okay. Where's that across the street?
That's kind of in the area where Chip's Super Duper Dog.
Oh,
building,
okay.
Right in there,
Oh, okay, got it.
which would be the end of their, on their way out.
It's like Ma's Kitchen then.
Yeah, right in, yeah.
We have a motion on this one.
Where's Wine on Wheels from?
So this is a kind of a package deal that we were able to pick up through RagBri. So it's Chris Cakes, Wine on Wheels
The
and
DJ,
House of Pies.
House of Pie, Iowa Pies, and then we got a
And then they
DJ.
provide a DJ for free if you authorize their 3 vendors. These people travel every town of Ragbri, not every town, but they,
Yeah.
every
So
day,
they know how to.
every day they follow to the next
Okay,
town.
got it.
So Ragbri knows them, Ragbri riders know them, and I think they have a following, which we thought would be positive for us to get people, oh, we know Chris Cakes, oh, we know Wine on Wheels,
Got it.
good place to stop, so. Like where they're actually from,
I don't know.
I think
No,
it's
it's
in
okay.
North Liberty.
Yeah, yeah, something like that
Yeah.
on their application.
there it is.
So again, I would ask, is this in direct competition with what some of our own vendors are doing? I don't know who all of our vendors are, it's just a thing, so I don't know if they're in
I don't
competition.
have any
We don't
bar
have
that
any,
has submitted anything yet.
Is there a deadline for submitting for this?
the only bar, Valhalla Hatchets, they are doing it, but theirs is all canned stuff. You know, so she already has her license. O'Leary, he's only doing it, he's not doing anything outside of his, establishment. Grand Central, it's doing nothing.
They're not playing.
No.
So it's just the,
And then,
brewery.
and the brewery, they are doing something and it's outside. So they are gonna do something outside and they're
And you
doing.
do have to approve that
Yes.
outdoor service stuff.
Right.
So Grand Central will be open, but they're only gonna be inside.
No,
No,
Grand
Grand
Central's
Central's
not
not
even gonna
even
be open.
Did they say how many people are registered this year?
21.5.
21.
So I don't think there's any competition.
Yeah.
Well, that,
I
yeah.
think we need a buffer here to get them to stop.
Which is why they keep saying you need 20 vendors, you know, so saying, oh gee, we have one vendor who's gonna serve alcohol. They can't possibly.
10 times the population of our town come through town.
Yeah, who, you know who else is doing something? As far as being vendor on food and drink?
We have a company called Smoothie
Smoothies.
Revolution. They're coming.
Guess what they do?
Like I said, I mentioned Chris Cakes, House of Pies, or whatever that.
Yeah, Wine on
some
Wheels.
pie place.
Wine on Wheels, they do a lot of like specialty drinks, like they can do Bloody Marys, screwdrivers, that kind of stuff too.
Feed
Bloody
a farmer,
Mary seems to be
farmer.
popular.
feed farmers, I don't know, something like that. It's basically the
Corn.
Corn Growers Association.
Oh, we are going with that, 'cause I did talk to that man.
They're coming.
Yeah.
And then also,
Um,
FFA, they're doing watermelon slices. We have Athletic Boost, the Music Boosters, they're planning on just doing bottled water and bottled, they're kind of working on it right now, but they're still planning on doing something, but it's gonna be packaged goods and bottled drinks.
Contest, how many people
Wasn't there
can you actually
somebody
pack in the
associated
office?
with Athletico?
Athletico, yeah.
And then a
Can't
guessing
remember the name of that
contest.
Quite a few environments. ain't
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
And St.
So those are
Patrick's
kind of the
Day.
ones we know right now.
We have places.
So I don't want to go back one, but so If- there is a problem with Main Street Bakery and Cafe and not getting their license. I mean, what we don't know the absolute deadline for them as far as their paperwork, correct?
Right.
So if, let's say that you talk to her and she can't make any changes, she's got to be out there at Corey's.
She said like if she couldn't do the alcohol and like if for some reason the food, she'll stay at Corey's and do the food.
So then if we had her, in 2 weeks, if we had to then approve it, we'd still have plenty of time for her
Right.
to approve that.
Right.
So talk to her and see if you can get her on Main Street. If you can't, then I think that needs to come back here and because now, I just assumed that we had plenty of vendors, but from what I'm hearing, we don't have anywhere near. And If Grand Central's not gonna be open, I mean, you've given everybody a fair chance to play the game. And if they're not going to, so I mean, I'm not I was trying to protect our Belle Plaine vendors, but if they aren't gonna be here, then God bless, her to come in and work hard. So I don't think we're hurting her by tabling this and then doing it the next meeting. You can talk to her. It'd be really much better if she could find a place on Main Street. She can even set up down by the museum somehow. We'd work with her on that if that's a decent location for it all or whatever. But if not, then I think we gotta circle back on this.
We're gonna approve something for her.
Yeah.
Yes.
So just keep positive,
What does
just
that
saying the
Okay,
preference
now
of
that
us.
we've totally screwed up the rules of order, that was tabled,
yeah.
you're on a different agenda.
I know, but it was kind
And
of.
the hammer was warming up, folks, getting ready to.
But it was segued back in cleverly.
Yeah,
I had my lawyer nod and that, but you're
Yeah,
okay, let's
you're
keep
gonna
going.
get separated. Keep your fingers up on the Bible there. Now let's get back to 24.
All right, we're
I'm
going.
looking for a motion.
Thanks,
on this.
Ashley.
I want some wine on wheels.
I make a motion to approve a new 5-day Class C retail alcohol license outdoor service for Wine on Wheels, 715 12th Street, Belle Plaine.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion on the topic.
Oh, shoot, I was gonna throw in one more thing, and then we'll get back to her later on that other one.
Hearing nothing important, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Wine on wheels, you got the street. Discuss for possible approval to grant a utility credit of $378.88 at 825 12th Street, Belle Plaine, Iowa, created by a broken pipe in a crawl space, excess water soaked into dirt floor. Questions or motion?
Nobody's done that building anymore, is it?
The office,
Yeah.
not the Oasis.
No, okay.
O'Leary.
All right, never mind. O'Leary's.
You wanna open the Oasis again?
Them days are over.
Okay.
Them days are over.
Oh, wait a minute, we're gonna get the gavel in a minute, sorry, never mind.
Motion,
I move to grant a utility credit of $378.88 to 825 12th Street, Belle Plaine.
is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Discuss for possible approval in resolution 230609, a resolution approving change order number 1 and pay application number 2 relating to airport rehabilitation runway 1836 taxiway and apron project. Just out of curiosity, where did this all come from?
So this is the runway project we've been working on that they didn't quite get finished last fall. So they had a few remnants to finish up this spring, which they actually have now. So this change order is actually just because there's a provision in the contract that says based on, they estimate it's, for instance, X amount of square feet of such and such, and then when they actually pour it, it's a little bit more than X amount of feet, so the price is a little bit higher. The contract allows for a 15% overrun if approved. Project is complete, that's just they had a couple $1,000 overrun based on the specs, the size or whatever that they had to do. So they have to get that approved. The application 2 is everything but the retainage. So that's the balance of the project without the retainage. And then just today, which will be on the next agenda, I got the closeout. So the project is complete. They've done the inspection with Bruce Gapster, and he's good with project completion.
So we had a cost overrun of almost $3,000.
for the big government.
Yeah, yes.
Questions, comments? Motion.
I move to approve resolution 230609, approving change order number 1 and pay application number 2 regarding the airport rehabilitation runway 1836 taxiway and apron project.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
I hope when we need this change order, we get it back from them in ample time.
Scary.
The word scares me alone.
Mhm.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Administrators report. Back and look at that final public notice.
Yeah, so the next page on your agenda is the final public notice. This has to do, from what I understand, this is typically the last step before you're awarded a grant from Homeland Security. So this is basically a public notice that lets everybody know about the projects and the project and project area. And Chris Weiss with Homeland Security and some of the other folks down there, this is just a typical thing that you have to do. And he said that you can kind of get excited about it because normally this means you got something coming your way. So there's no dry ink yet, but I'm cautiously optimistic that it will happen. Does anybody have any questions about the generator project out at the well field?
No, it's imperative we have that generator.
Okay, so I've been trying to do a little bit of legwork for the potential treatment plant sites. I spoke with Alliant Energy and we're looking over sites, and because we're going to need to have 3-phase electricity to the location where that plant is. And, you know, if it's at site A, we don't have 3-phase. Site B does, but it costs more for the land or whatever. So we have some options. So David Weiss is going to, we met and talked about it and looked things over, and he's going to put together some numbers. There isn't a whole lot we can do with it other than kind of have that information for when we hire our engineer, so they can help guide us on what would be, you know, what kind of a plant do we need? How big is it going to be? Where's the best place to put it? And basically we've just are performing one leg of the research, so we don't have to have someone else do it and be a little proactive about it. We had hail damage from the big hailstorm. So Sandy and I are going to be meeting with insurance adjusters. They're sending 2. So we're going to divide up the properties, the different locations around town, and go with each adjuster. And we may meet up at some point and catch up, see how everything's going. That'll be happening from the morning until who knows, tomorrow. Yeah. We obviously don't have as much damage. It doesn't appear than from when we did it to derecho, so hopefully it should go faster than that whole process. I met with Iowa Department of Ag and Land Stewardship, Amy Bauska and Paul Miller, for the Moore Building grant. Because we had certain funding sources, we have to meet some guidelines for stormwater runoff. And that's one of the things that I've been asked to try to help come up with a solution for. And so they came in and we met, and then
That's complete, they signed off on it yesterday.
what's that?
I said the environmental audit is complete, Dave sent it out on it yesterday
Okay, for Green Streets?
for-
All right.
For that project.
Okay, great. Um,
Way to steal my thunder.
Give him a stick.
I didn't know what I was signing.
Sign here.
so that's a really, it's a small portion of the grant, but it's a big thing to get done because they can hold up the funding if that isn't taken care of. Ashley and I went to the community center meeting to discuss United Way phasing in and replacing the Benton County Volunteer Program. And sounds like they have a pretty good plan in place. And they're hoping that the program will grow and they'll have more resources. And then it'll be here for a long time. Yesterday I met with Iowa Geological Survey. They sent out a geologist, 2 hydrogeologists, and a hydrologist. So as I'm doing research on well field stuff and just the way the water flows through town, trying to slow it down, I talked to a lot of people about it, and I just keep encountering more people that are involved in these things, which is great. And they are very excited about helping us out with anything. So I get a lot of leads and I follow them. So there is a grad student that's been drilling test wells all up and down the Iowa River, along with the Iowa Geological Survey. So they've mostly been working closer to the river, but I said, well, let's go look around town a little bit and see, because we have interesting hydrology around here with our aquifers and things. So they were really interested and they want to try to help us out with stuff. So they have some equipment to try to help map out the well field to see if it is viable for any kind of production wells before we even drill a well. So they would use a couple different sources. One's called electrical resistivity and the other one's passive seismic resonance. So they lay cables out on the ground for like 1,000 feet with electrodes, and then they penetrate the ground and get an underground map of what the structures look like. So we can see, you know, where the sand veins are and where we could potentially have a place to drill a well if we decide to do it. Yeah, or maybe, you know, if it's even possible. So if we get the grant for well field improvements, they would be working with us as part of that to help inform those decisions and the best way to design it. So that was really a good meeting. Then today we had the final planning meeting for the Project Aware group that's coming through. They're going to have between 300 and 400 people staying in Franklin Park.
That's really how many they have.
Yeah. So I think there's every day is different because some people don't do it the whole week.
Right.
So they're starting on Sunday and they're going to be staying at Tama County Lake. And then on Wednesday, they're going to start staying in Franklin Park. So they don't have their final numbers yet, but they have classes and all kinds of things, but they're going to be cleaning up the river. It's their 20th anniversary and they're speculating they're going to pick up their 1,000,000th pound of trash while they're on this journey. So I thought that was pretty nice. They're going to come into our community and this is the only town they're staying in. And so if anybody in the community wants to help out, canoe along with them or help unload trash out or just come hang out and learn something at the park or whatever, anybody's welcome to do whatever. And they could always use some extra help with volunteers if anybody wants to do that.
How many nights will they be here?
They'll be here Wednesday night and Thursday night, and then they'll be here Friday until Friday afternoon. So they have talked with Lance and about, using the pool and showering and bathrooms, and they're bringing their own porta potties in and stuff like that.
What are the dates again on that?
So
July.
night to the.
It's, I can't pull up my
Isn't that
calendar right
week
now.
after?
It's the week after the 4th. No, it's the
July 12th.
12th. Yeah, sorry, I can't. 12th, 13th, and 14th.
Okay.
I have trouble reading the calendar there.
So they're here Wednesday and Thursday. So they're here the 14th and 15th.
12th,
Or excuse
13th, and
me,
14th.
I've got it wrong.
14th of Friday.
Yeah.
I already know.
What's the name of the
Is that
program?
here?
Project Aware.
Project Aware.
That's all I have right now. If anybody has any questions.
So how are they fed with that amount of people? Do they have arrangements or?
They have contracted out
Why not?
caterers to.
Follows.
Basically, they have somebody following them around.
But not wine on.
So I know one of them is Lacaille out of Cedar Falls, Reggie from Lacaille. But they're gonna, they're not gonna be eating Mexican food the whole week. Yeah, I think it'll be a fun deal. It's not gonna be as big as RAGBRAI, but people will be here for longer, and they'll be able to have the opportunity just to enjoy Franklin Park and meet townsfolk or go into town and do things. Mitch and Wes have set up a cool display.
We're gonna
In the
have a
museum.
display on the Iowa River. So we've got a bunch of old photographs and old articles and things. So in the gallery we'll have. Yeah, it's neat.
So everybody kind of, when they get done for the day, they can do whatever they want to do. So they can go uptown and have a drink or stay at the park or go to the museum. I believe the Legion is their emergency shelter if there's bad weather.
I think we're set up. I mean, if there's a thunderstorm that night, they're supposed to call and we
Right.
can open up for them too. So
Right.
Have we let the businesses know downtown that this is happening?
I've been posting about it. I've talked to Ashley about it. So
Yeah, they're not gonna be open for it.
hopefully it'll give people a look at Belle Plaine.
Well, and bring a little revenue in too, so.
Yeah. Well, one of the guys today said one of the pleasant surprises they have is every year they do a different waterway. They just pick some place, whether in Iowa, people come from all over the country to do this.
They called me about bus services. So they were worried about getting a bus underneath the underpass.
Oh, they probably have a different kind of bus than,
No, it's
School bus?
basically like school bus.
okay. So yeah, they're gonna be going from Marshalltown to somewhere south of Costi. I don't know.
Should have been here last year. They could have walked it. Drugged it.
Yeah, it would have been tight fit.
Anything else?
No, unless anybody has any questions.
it's nice to drive around town and see all the trees in the parking.
We're having a pretty good success rate.
Yeah.
There were
Bring
some,
people to water.
pardon? Yeah, I'll put out another.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of goofy weather where it was like 20 degrees and then 80 degrees and some of the trees didn't bud out correctly. So they might have to be replaced, but hopefully we'll continue getting more grants and participation.
Okay, tomorrow night, there is a community garbage meeting starting at 6 o'clock at the community center to meet our new garbage people and have them explain their program and how it's gonna be different. Hopefully, some of our council people will show up. I know there's a tree seminar going on too. There's not enough nights to do stuff.
Are we going to be getting any information from the public about pickup of their carts and,
You won't get it from them, but you'll get something from us.
The latest newsletter's got a whole bunch of stuff in it, doesn't
are you stuff?
it? Yes.
Oh, I haven't seen the July one yet.
Came out last night.
Oh, okay.
He's gotta stay up with some reading.
Basically, you just leave your stuff curbside the last pickup day.
You watch them steal carts and everything else. Oh, I forgot. I know. Republic will be protesting that they lost 85 carts in Belton. Where did they go? They're down at the Ogre River waiting for garbage. So that garbage meeting is tomorrow. I have no idea how well that will draw with the public. I have no idea how many people will be there or how long it will be. Meetings I've attended, EasyCog, landfill, and there is no event development this week. Nothing new from EasyCog. Probably the one thing that was really kind of problem at EasyCog is we had to give up on 2 loans we had out for I forget how many thousands of dollars on businesses that foreclosed and shut down. So I'm hoping that with the change in that loan program, it's really geared towards the rural, smaller communities, we'll have more success and less of that happen. One of the things to note from the landfill meeting, we were sitting there and I don't remember, but Jennifer pointed out, we have $10.6 million toward that. Now you have to understand that when you close a cell, you have continuing costs. So there's a closure, post-closure amount the state requires you to have. I forget how many millions it is. But, and we're closing a cell and opening a new cell, but this was a county-run entity that was flopping like a dead carp when it came to finances, and the only thing that the county thought to do was just keep raising the, never dawned on them why not charge tipping fees to put your garbage in the landfill. They just kept raising the per capita out here on the citizens, which was the first thing that the landfill commission did away with. We do away with per capita, but it's been lowered at least once. And we charge for tipping fees, and that prevents all these out-of-county people from coming in and dumping, which was happening quite a bit. But it dawned on me because the county told the landfill commission, you will not succeed with this. If more than succeed. Right down to the engineering firm that we had, the county had hired was charging $144,000 a year fees to the landfill. And we fired them immediately. And the first one we hired was like $40,000. And they were only there 1 year because we're down to about $21,000 in engineering fees. Because we hired a landfill manager that can do a whole bunch of the testing and stuff. So it's become much more efficient. And I think that's why it's imperative on the garbage contract. I think people did the right thing by bidding it out. And then again, it's always a chance when you switch again, but those figures, and I would say run that sheet off that the council used and have 20 or 30 of those down the public and look at the information you guys looked at. And they'll see why we made the decision on using seriously sanitation instead of growing with 50. So I think that was a good comparative job when we did that. And, Sandy and I were talking today about the garbage program that we think we'll have it out of the red by by the end of the first year with this new firm, so, and I don't think there will be a problem. I think we'll adjust to it. They'll be their usual, what do you mean they pick up recycling on a different day? Why would they do that? Because it's their company and they get to make those decisions. So I
If I
think,
remember right, they said they had another place they were servicing on Thursdays.
so,
So I did a bit more anyway.
Well, it's because they want to do all of garbage in a single day.
Mhm.
They'll be using both trucks.
so, I've got landfill meeting next week. Primarily, I've spent most of the last 2 weekends meeting with cardiologist, and a kidney doctor, and now we go back for another CAT scan. A whole lot of fun stuff, because I know that CAT scan's fluid you drink. Might as well just give you some light kerosene and say, don't twist it. We chilled it, big deal. In your correspondence, those are correspondence that we have from a couple nuisance properties that we thought you should see. And when we make contact, and I do have one property I need to talk to you about, probably on Friday. You could be in here about 11 on Friday or noon.
I'll have to check my schedule, but I'll put you down.
Any other questions from the council? I did a lot of work tonight, folks. We get out of here at 8:30.
It's regarding a nuisance house, your nuisance house.
A nuisance house.
Okay.
President comments. Jay, you got anything you want to throw out?
No, not unless you guys have any questions.
See, been
How's it
doing,
going out there? Pretty good, pretty good.
the Petersons expressed very much the quality of good work you guys did on behind their house on 10th Avenue.
We're getting there.
So I know that's appreciated by the homeowners.
Alliant Energy is going to come through and clear some of those trees out of the lines too in that area where we didn't want to touch them. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Mayor. Sorry.
But I remember just driving through looking at Meadow Creek, and you can see a huge difference.
Yeah, it's very well done.
And I did tell the homeowners there, explain the whole FEMA fiasco on. You know, it's not a Democrat or Republican, it's a federal program that I don't like the way it's run. I certainly wish the federal government would revise it. I truly feel sorry for those people in the hurricane areas. So, well, FEMA's coming. They're probably going big whoop.
Yeah.
Okay, if we got nothing, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Non-discussable issue. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same side. 8:24 PM.
Thanks, Kate.